Hi, everyone. Today, let's talk a little bit more about Palantir. First up, for this episode, Palantir closes up 21% after a $44 million FDA contract was awarded to them for the next 3 years. Then I'll talk about a little bit of the bear case and whether we should take profits or not. If you like economic news, trading stocks and options, and making money, definitely like and subscribe. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So Palantir announced they won a contract for $44 million from the FDA, and this contract goes out for the next 3 years. Currently, the government makes up for $163 million of Palantir's revenue, and this is another great addition to their income streams. As a result of this, Palantir saw a 21% rally, which certainly seems pretty aggressive considering that the company is worth $46 billion in market cap, and this deal is only worth $44 million, so it doesn't directly translate to a 21% growth because that would be a $9 billion growth. But those are the markets that we live in right now, and companies like this can rally pretty massively just on some news that doesn't really change the narrative very much. They also mentioned that the government makes up half of Palantir's revenue at $163 million. So the company overall is only bringing in just over $300 million. But as I mentioned before, the current market cap is $46 billion. To be fair, Palantir has been adding more and more contracts in third quarter. So just over $300 million was the reported earnings for third quarter. So the $91 million deal for the Army, $36 million for the National Institutes of Health, and another $300 million renewal for an aerospace customer, which is most likely classified, does add up a pretty significant increase in revenues. And as a result of that, the company has surged over 200% since September 30th. So is it time to take some profits? If you've been following along with Palantir, or if you watched my deep dive on the company, you would know that Palantir still is yet to be profitable, even though the company has been around for 17 years at this point, which is definitely throwing up some red flags, but it seems like the company is getting into its stride more and more recently based on the contracts that I mentioned previously. The stock did rally after the $44 million contract announcement and has since retraced a pretty significant amount of that rally. But there are some analysts that are saying it's time to take some profits. I mentioned in my previous video about Palantir that Citron Research is saying that this company is massively overvalued, and that may be the case. At the very least, in the short term, the company has run up a few 100%, and that is a great trade by any standard. As a rebuttal to the analysts saying to take profits, they do mention that Palantir does have a great niche in surveillance, defense, and cybersecurity, but this does make it a little bit difficult for them to market outside the government, which currently makes up 47% of total revenues, like I mentioned, right around that halfway mark. They're expected to post just over $1 billion in sales this year, with an expected growth to $1.4 billion in 2021. That expected growth in sales is right around 31%, and even with a 31% growth in sales, that clearly does not explain the massive growth of several 100% in market cap, which further leads to the idea that it might be time to take some profits if you're holding the stock and potentially wait for a lower buy-in or just sell some puts to do so. Palantir claims that the market that they currently inhabit is $119 billion of total available revenues, with $63 billion of that in the public sector or government work and $56 billion in the private sector. Overall, this is not a very large market compared to some others, and it's definitely a niche market compared to some other tech sectors. And of course, they will not inhabit the entire space, as there will be competitors at some point in the future, if not already. But the expectation is that they have a head start in this industry and are currently doing very well in the space. Moving on to some analysis of the charts, you can see as recently as the beginning of November, the stock was trading around $10.50 per share, and currently we're trading at $26.18. We sort of have established this trend line here. We rode it all the way up until around $19 per share. We had that huge pop, came back and retested, popped up again on the announcement, and we've now retested this trend line once again. And it remains to be seen if this trend will hold up here to the upside, or if we will break down and retest maybe some support here. It does kind of look like we're seeing that M top where we didn't make new highs compared to the previous burst, and we may see a little bit more downward pressure. It's hard to say when you don't have any consistent levels because the stock was offered so recently and you have no history to go off of. But looking at the RSI here, we're currently at 62, pretty close to that oversold in the 70 region. And the stock was all the way up into the 85, 86 region as recently as November 26th. So it's pretty fair to say it's been a massive rally pretty quickly, and I wouldn't be surprised if this trend line did break to the downside and we saw a retest maybe in the $20 level or even in that $16 to $17 level where we saw kind of a rally up, a breakdown, and then a breakthrough, a little bit of a retest here, and then that rally up. So we have somewhat of established level here in the $17.50 range, which would be a pretty substantial breakdown from where we are currently. Looking at my Palantir position here, I did close my previous position for a profit today before the around $2 drop, and I opened a put credit spread here for 85 cents per share. And I'm really willing to buy the stock around that $20 mark. Like I mentioned, I think it could go a little bit lower, but at the $20 mark, that would already represent over a 40% drop from the previous highs that we saw just a few days ago. And if we get into that region, I do think Palantir is going to be a buy and that we will see some consistent long-term growth, especially with the current expectations in terms of next year's sales revenues. To summarize, Palantir has had a massive rally, and it's hard to support that rally based on the current numbers of their sales and revenues and potential growth, and even the total size of their niche. But I still do believe in this company to grow pretty substantially into the future, but we'll have to wait and see. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of this video. What do you think of Palantir? Is it a buy right now, or should we wait? If you want to see a more in-depth analysis of Palantir stock, definitely check out the link above. Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Of course, this is not financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes, and have a great day.